Wyatt Gaming, into the top 5 best games that I reviewed for 2020. Again, like with my last video, I'm not including any games that are just impressions or side videos where I'm just checking out, parsing. But it's any game I reviewed, so it didn't have to actually come out in 2020. So this includes updates. Again, this is on Xbox One, PC, and Switch platforms. Let's start with number 5. There's complaints of Drake Hollow that I see that it's grindy, but this is a sum of its parts type of a game. It's not just collecting resources and building up your base. You're also exploring, traversing a procedurally generated map where you don't know what you're going to run into, the type of enemies you're looking to pick up weapons, set up waypoints to make it easier, decide routes. It's very engaging. You're thinking about all of these things at once. My main complaint early on when I reviewed it is it doesn't have an endless mode. It really lends itself to that, but they added that along with upping the difficulty. You can tweak everything in it. So my only complaint now is just online public matchmaking. It's really meant to be played with other people to avoid that grind where you're doing different things. Some people are traveling out, some people are defending the base when it is. As it stands right now, it's a solid playthrough Game Pass, and if you have friends to play with, it's even worth a buy. Apart from Zelda Breath of the Wild, this is my favorite game on the Wii U where it released. I do miss the gamepad with the stylus. Made it a little bit more unique. And same issue with Breath of the Wild. I wish it just released on the Wii U and used the actual gamepad. But what are you going to do? The additions to it are good, though. The Olimar Louie, you have the DLC there. It's not a huge... doesn't change the game a whole lot from the original. Main good addition is the co-op that you have. You can now play in the campaign. They had it with the other modes, and they did have the verses, but you couldn't do that in the main campaign. The additional difficulty doesn't change a whole lot, like the Ultra Spicy. I checked that out. But if you do have a Nintendo Switch, and especially if you have someone else to play with, this one's a no-brainer, and I definitely recommend it. There's not enough comedy in video games, and Tabs, even though it's not a full release game, it's short for Totally Accurate Battle Simulator, it's just hilarious. Playing each of the maps, you set up your own troops. Sometimes you're limited on the types of troops that you have, and then you see what happens. You can even control individual units if you want, and they have a two-player thing, like a sandbox type of a mode where you can set the resource limit. It's very loose. It's not balanced where the cost that they have, if they would full releases, they'd have to tweak it, and that's kind of why it's been hanging in limbo, I think, in sort of early access. But this game is hilarious. It has maps based on different themes like caveman times or in the Far East or the Renaissance, etc. And you set them up, and they each have their own particular mechanics. They might have a melee weapon or a gun. So check this one out. It's on Game Pass. It's on PC as well as Xbox One. It doesn't take too long to play. I would recommend doing that rather than buying because it's pretty short. Gears Tactics, pretty self-explanatory. It's a tactics version, turn-based in the Gears universe. It is done very well, surprisingly. I'm not a big fan of recent Gears games, you know what you're getting, but with Gears Tactics, it's easy to jump into. Tactical games don't come out all that often, but it's easy to understand the different button commands, and along with that, it has enough depth that you're going to be engaged in what you're doing. As you progress, though, through the story, you're able to get different equipment that has different types of effects, you might be running faster, or you get an extra chainsaw attack. And the variety of enemies really works well from the Gears universe because of that cover system. And then you have the heavier enemies like the Boomer with the grenade launcher, or the Tickers that explode upon impact. Really change it up where there is enough depth here. Surprised they didn't have a Gears Tactics game years ago. This was also on Xbox Game Pass. Didn't take me that long either. I'd recommend doing that, but this is also a buy if you're looking for a good tactics game. Like with Blind Forest, it has an excellent story, artistic direction, graphics, and gameplay mechanics, and the map that you're traversing, the design of it, going from one spot to the other. It's all designed very well. I did like Blind Forest better, largely because it was the first game, so the graphical style stood out more. There weren't as many games like this coming out. Now it's been several years, but also it's much more combat oriented, whereas the first one was more platform oriented. So you feel like you can cheap your way out, and then you have these boss battles that have checkpoints that you're able to restart and then do a light amount of button mashing to kind of get through it. So it cheapens out the experience a little bit compared to the first one, but I mean, really, it's an excellent game still in terms of the world that's designed here, and it's just fun to play just looking at it, of course, as you can see here. And through Game Pass or buying, you can't go wrong with either. It's not terribly long though. You could still get away with playing this through Game Pass. One quick honorable mention: Streets of Rage 4. This is a 4-player beat 'em up, 4-player local co-op, and 2-player online. Unfortunately, I couldn't play this 4-player on Parsec. It didn't work for some reason. I was playing it through Game Pass, but 2-player online works well. There's people playing it. This one's a blast to play. Like the comic book style, and it's not a mindless beat 'em up. You have a meter that you're able to charge, and then you're able to do. You have all these different kinds of moves that you're able to do. So there is a skill level to it. It's not like the old 90s beat 'em ups that you played. So this one I would buy, or if it's on Game Pass, check it out there as well. If you do, though, like this video, please give a like. If you're willing to consider subscribing. If you're picking up any of these games on Game Pass or GameFly, please check out the links below, and I will see you next time.